high-quality playmats. That's NobleAsta. Playmats guaranteed to help you win NobleAsta. Visit 1000noble.com.
Playmats not actually guaranteed to help you win locals. Look cool, maybe, but not help you win. Not at all. Not even close, but maybe.
Hello, everybody. My name is Connor, and we have Marco versus Enel. Enel goes first and passes turn. On our turn 1, I don't really want to cycle Dawn. I don't have anything to play for 2, so we just go ahead and pass. Enel hits 3 Dawn. Not a ton I think Enel could really do. Maybe a Onami Banish, but I've got 2Ks for days, so that is fine with me. So this list is different from the list I have been running. It is the Jansuko Marco list. It is pretty fun. I do feel like when it bricks hard. So we only have a couple of Marco games, and then we're gonna be playing something else, and then probably going to Purple Luffy with the starter deck. So Enel swings pretty big and hits us. We take the life, get the Jozu, and now our turn, we cycle a card out and we swing 6, getting a life from him. And then we drop our 3-cost Dofi just to cycle, or not cycle, excuse me, that's my favorite word today. Sort the top, see what we can do, see if we get something we like, and we do see the Rayleigh, and we do have the Sanji in hand, so that combo is looking pretty good, and now I'm just trying to do the math to figure out where I want to put the Rayleigh, so he shows up at a good time. Yeah, we're thinking Ace, Bad Manners, Kick Course. I do have the 4-cost Marco in my hand. That is my favorite thing to cheat out with the Ace. And we go ahead and pass turn, getting a little bit of protection there. Of course, my opponent is at 5 Dawn, so there is a good chance that he will get Gadatsu'd since we are at 3 life, but there's also a world where maybe he doesn't have Gadatsu, you know? And that's not this world, so he does get Gadatsu'd, and kind of unfortunate, but we have countered, and I give him the Izo counter because I've already sorted the top of my deck. I'm not really looking to bottom deck any of those. I know I have a Rayleigh coming up, and yeah, Rayleigh would get bottom decked, so I go ahead and use Izo as a counter, pass turn. We get the 5-cost Ace that lets you cheat out a Whitebeard body of 4 costs or less. So we leader ability, getting the Bad Manners in our hand, and we are putting the blocker Marco up top, specifically so we can do our Ace cheese. I go to swing 6, and I wasn't sure about it, but I do end up swinging 6, thinking that I do want to keep my opponent around 2 life until I can establish a bit of a board. And it looks like he's sitting at 2 life right now, but we're so early in the game that I'm also thinking maybe I can rush him down before he gets his big bodies. Oh no, he's got 3 life. I think that's also something that I tend to think, and I don't think it's the right play. When I play yellow is like I go and try and rush them down, but we play our 5-drop Ace. They reveal a Marco. That's crazy, who knew? And he did actually give us the 2k Capone for that, so honestly that worked pretty well in our favor. I know my opponent is borrowing this Enel deck from somebody in our community, relatively new to Enel, so could be. As I say, my opponents are nice enough to let me record and post and commentate. You can critique me all I want, or all you want, but, you know, be nice to my opponents, please. I appreciate that so much. These people are my friends. And honestly, this game was so much fun. I love being able to have, just be able to joke around and have a good time with my opponents, and I get that a lot in my community, and I'm so grateful for it. But he is deciding what he wants to do, and it's honestly pretty tough. I feel like that's, what is this, 6, 7? yeah, about 7 Dawn turn is a little boring, I guess, for Enel. A little lackluster. If there is the 7 drop Enel, like, that's a really good option because that's hard to remove. But I know that's something that's not being run in every Enel deck. So he does end up playing Rocket Luffy. He is at 3 life though, so Rocket Luffy can't activate his ability, which is fine by me. And we are also at 3 life, so we can't activate Marco ability. But as you guys can see, I don't really have a lot of Whitebeard Pirates in my hand. So, not really sure if I... Not really sure if I even feel like, you know, blocking with Marco at this point. So he did pre-attach his Dawn, so I do know what swings are coming at me, and I'm thinking I 2k out of the Enel 6k, and I will probably take the Gadatsu 7. So yep, there is the Otama out of the Enel and the Gadatsu. We take getting another Marco, which is pretty nice. Definitely not upset to have Marcos in my hand. And we do get our Jozu, meaning I believe Rayleigh is on the deck, the top of the deck. One thing I am noticing is when I get the Doflamingo blocker to sort the top of my deck, I do tend to forget to calculate the leader ability in there, but in this case it's okay because I just put Rayleigh back on top, not ready for him. So I'm just explaining to my opponent, since it's the first time it's really mattered that Marco, not only does he get to draw a card and put one at the top and bottom, but he minuses something by 2,000. So just trying to figure out what I want to do with the rest of my Dawn. I do end up swinging 7 into the Gadatsu. My opponent does have a pretty large hand, so if I could get some of those cards out of his hand, that'd be great. If not, that's not great. That's the opposite of great, in fact. So my opponent taking his time to think about this, but he does end up letting Gadatsu go, which is good, but potentially to my error here, I do end up swinging that's 8 into life, and he does end up getting a trigger to Origo, which I believe it does it KOs a character. I'll put a picture of it because I'm not super familiar with it. But he Origos the Marco, and I trash the Jozu and drop another Marco. I think this is potentially a poor play. I don't have a ton of counters in hand. I only have one Jozu, or one Whitebeard Pirates card. So I think that discarding my 2k Jozu and playing another Marco was potentially the wrong play. Although with my opponent having 2 life now, his Rocket Luffy is available, so he could potentially he could with Rocket Luffy clear both of my Marcos, depending. But we'll talk about that when we get there. Just very curious to know what you guys think of that play. I honestly, I played Marco in this tournament, and I went about 2-2, so you won't see all the games. If you're on Patreon, you will see all the games, but if you are not on Patreon, you're only going to see the 2 games I am deciding to go over. I don't know, I feel like Marco has the potential to be a really good deck, but he's lacking, and I don't think that I'm at a point where I'm not sure if starter decks will help. So he does go ahead and swing into the Marco. using Luffy to pop the other Marco, and I revive him with Jozu. So kind of, I think that potentially the not letting the first Marco die on the Kingdom Come trigger, potentially a poor play there. I'm not the biggest fan of that play. I think if I just focused on the one Marco, I could have just revived him several times, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm really curious to what you guys think. And yeah, as I was saying, I just feel like Marco is a little lacking right now. And when he works well and he's fun. But when he doesn't work, it is a miserable experience. Which is tough. I don't want to play a deck where I'm miserable playing it, if I can avoid it. So my opponent goes ahead and decides to drop 2 bodies, which I think is a pretty smart. If he had no other options, it's a decent play. He doesn't get a benefit from healing at the moment because he is at 2 life, and this is more pressure applied to me, which my hand size is getting low, my life is getting low. It is looking rough. So I don't think that's a poor play on my opponent's part. I honestly am still thinking about my poor Marco decision here, and he ends up swinging 5-minute Marco, and I let him go, deciding that I want to keep the counter to save my face. And I'm sorting through my Dawn. Eventually I'll realize I have Dawn on Ace there. And I go ahead and put Rayleigh on top. I did mess up my Sanji ability earlier. Here I am, just so excited to do the play right that I have not even restood my Ace. There I go, restanding Ace. Good job, Connor. So we minus the Kadatsu by 2, thus giving us the opportunity to pop Kadatsu, but using 2 from Rayleigh. And we'll talk about that as I get there. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, just a little though. So we 9-drop Sanji into Rayleigh. Rayleigh, we are gonna minus, and I'm doing math here, and math is hard. We are gonna minus Kadatsu. He's a 4,000 power now. So we're gonna minus him by 2 and pop the Kadatsu, and use the 3,000 to minus the Frankie, making him a 2,000 power until my next turn. And I decide not to swing the 6 or any 6 in the lead. My thought here now is I am going to be establishing bodies and get to a point where I can hopefully swing for game. Especially because I'm not liking my hand very much. It's the 0 costs are kind of just clogging. Like, 0 cost to me is a double-edged sword, really. But my opponent goes ahead and plays Flampe, getting that hand size even bigger. And then they tap 9 to drop the Yamato. Unable to pop anything on my board, thankfully. But healing themselves and just being able to provide a bigger body that meets my body. Granted, not sure what they had in their hand. Their hand size is ginormous at this point, so not sure what they had in their hand, but we will see what they are up to, what they're gonna do here on out. With that, I think the only thing they can do is swing the 5, and they do go ahead and swing the 5, and I'm thinking about giving them Dofi or Otama. I do decide the Dofi, just feeling like I need to do that, and we top deck another Sanji, which could be good depending on what I leader ability here, because my hand is not looking good. It's a rough day, and we do get an Izo, so not the best thing, not the worst thing, but I am gonna put the 0 cost, one of the 0 costs at the bottom of my life, and we will tap 1 to play out the Izo and see if we can find something we can play. I do run 2 of the 7 cost ace, which could be helpful here, depending on what we get. There is a pudding. I really want a pudding. At this point, as I've said several times, his hand is really big, and I very much would appreciate a pudding. Unfortunately for us, pudding is not a Whitebeard pirate, so we cannot grab her, but we do go ahead and grab the Jozu, and my thought here is I can pop Frankie back to his hand. Granted, I am giving him a 2k back in his hand, but it's one less body swinging at my face. And then I can pop the Ezo back to my hand and even replay that out if I want. So I do end up playing Jozu to pop the Ezo back to my hand, sending Frankie back to his hand. I have no way to KO the Frankie at this point, so I think sending it back to hand is the best I can do. And now the choice is, do I want to swing or not? And I just pass. And you can see my opponent, he kind of, dipped his shoulders a little. He was like, you should have swung. You should hit me, Classic Enel player wanting to be hit in the face. But I am feeling okay with what I have in my hand. I would love the opportunity to get another Sanji into something. I am looking for dragons at this point. If I get Sanji and a dragon, I think that I could really secure game. So they, Flampe and Yamato again, just mixing up their life, honestly, at this point. And they do have a couple of swings that they can do to definitely hurt us a little bit. And there I am reminding him, oh, you can swing that Flampe, that's fine. Swing the 1000 power Flampe. Yeah, now it's just a can I live? We have 5 hits coming in next turn, and I think depending on what we top deck, and our life having another Otama, we have seen I think all of our Otamas this game. We get the Jozu, not great. I would absolutely love to top deck Dragon here. Leader ability into pudding, that is good enough, honestly. So I'm torn on what to do. I end up I put the Otama to the bottom. I think I would have been okay putting Sanji to the bottom, but I did want to hold on to Sanji just in case, and we do tap 4 to drop pudding to have my opponent shuffle that massive hand into his deck. I mean, look how that's a lot of cards. And there is a chance that I can go for game, and I think that my plan here is, depending on what happens, I should go for game. I'm going to swing into life, and then if I don't think I can get game, pivot into the Yamato. I think is what my game plan is here. And I'm just trying to sort my Dawn, what I have left, to see how high I can swing. What are my swings looking like? And I think I do go ahead and minus the Yamato. That makes the most sense to me. Making them a 7? So yeah, 7. So I go ahead, tell them they're good on the cut, and they get their new hand. And I'm hoping that only having 5 in hand is good enough to potentially cause some pain. So yeah, we -2 to the Yamato there, and I'm thinking just swinging at, I'm pretty sure, I think I might just swing at life here. I think I am gonna swing towards life and pivot. So we swing into life, they get a beige, and that is honestly all I need to know. They got the beige. Now we are gonna go for clearing board. So they stun Sanji. I go ahead and put my little token on him until I get my nice tokens. We are using dice and Kraken dice tokens. So Jozu is a 7k, and I am torn between swing 7 and 8. I do swing the 8 at Yamato. I'm thinking with this, I can at least get some counters off board. And we do. He gives me, I think, 3k counter there. And Yamato's still on the board, but I do have the Rayleigh to still swing. And we do have Sanji. Sanji will be able to swing next turn for sure. He's just done for this turn. And so I'm thinking I'll just go another 7 into Yamato, try and get more counter out of hand. Oh, I got 7 into life? I think I forget about leader ability. But they do end up triggering the Onami out of life, trashing another card in hand, 2 cards in hand, and I take the 10 into Yamato here to clear that body, knowing that I can dump my hand, I think, to get out of the 9k swing if I need to, depending on what happens here. I don't like that I swung the Marco into Enel. I don't think that was the correct play at all, and I'm trying to think of why I did that, because exactly this reason. So the rush ace comes down, and there I am just joking, hey, the dice was still there, he's still minus 2,000 power, that's how it works. But yeah, this is looking pretty scary, honestly. I'm thinking if he goes for board, I'm definitely going to be struggling. But if he goes for life, there's a chance, I think, depending. I think I'm going to have to take the 10k swing, the ace swing. So if I can just counter out of the other 2 swings, it's going to be a 5k swing and then a 9k swing, which, 10, yes. I do have the counter with the 0 cost and Sanji and the 2ks. So I will be able to get out of 2 of the swings, but I will have to take the last swing, or the 10k swing, depending on what order he swings in here. And depending on what my last life is. I'm not sure what my last life was at this point. But I'm sure we're about to find out. And then, of course, depending on if he swings into life, and then depending on what he has in his life, we can potentially get game. So, just waiting for the choice. The 10 at Rayleigh comes in, and Rayleigh is a big body. I want Rayleigh alive, so I do end up countering out of that. Thinking I can counter out of the I can't counter out of the 9k swing. Take the 9k swing from Yamato if it goes into life, and counter out of the 5k swing with whatever I get. Just kind of depends on how they decide to swing. And I think that I potentially, if I remember what happens here, I think that this could be considered a misplay coming out. I'm definitely curious what you guys think of this. But because I think he swings the Yamato into Jozu. Yeah, he swings Yamato into Jozu, and I let Jozu go. And looking at my board now, I could have countered to save the Jozu. I could have countered to save Jozu, and then taken a 5 from Enel, because Enel would have had to swing into me. And I don't know if that would have been better, but yeah. So we draw for turn, we get the Atmos, and I put the Dawn on leader. I'm like, okay, Atmos ability, or Marco ability. We get another Atmos. I was like, are you kidding me? So here I'm torn between bottom decking Sanji or an Atmos, and I decided to do an Atmos because they're both 1k counters. Sanji with 0 cost makes 3k, and yeah, there's no... I don't know what's on the top of my life, or on the top of my deck, excuse me, so I don't want to waste the Dawn playing Sanji, and I need to make sure I'm swinging big so I can go for game, because I need to. He's got 2 cards in hand. I swing the 9 at a lead, If he's got a beige or a 0 cost, we are cooked. The Shirahoshi comes out, which is a bummer. Honestly, it is a bit of a bummer. And if I'm not mistaken, all of these need to connect in order to win the game. Hold on, I gotta think. It's been a hot minute since I played against an Enel. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, all of these need to connect to win the game, and yeah, that is stressful. He does discard a 8 cost Katakuri, and another 8 cost Katakuri. So I'm like, oh, he had a lot of Katakuris in hand. He had 2 cards left, and they were both Katakuris, I think, potentially. We swing the 8 into life, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling a little better because now we have my larger bodies. We have the Rayleigh as a base 8k body and Sanji as a base 9k body. So I see he's got 4 in hand. I swing the 10 into life, hoping he can't counter, and he doesn't. Hoping it's not a 0 cost. We were joking about 0 cost. I am so nervous at this point. And he's looking. And I'm definitely sweating bullets at this point. And he shows me it's the Raigo, and I was like, oh shit, what does Raigo do? And it doesn't do anything at this point. It takes both of their lives to KO. And so I end up swinging the 10, and he has 2k counter in hand. So that was close. And watching it, and I could have blind flipped into the dragon. That would have been sick. I did it earlier at the tournament, but you weren't able to see it well because of the way my camera was placed, unfortunately. But yeah, definitely, I think I played that not great. I'm definitely, I don't know how I feel about Marco anymore. I love Marco, like I love the leader and I love the colors, but I think that I don't think I'm good enough to pilot him. You know, especially after watching Jansuko play Marco, oh my god, he plays Marco on a different level, dude. Holy moly. But yeah, I am gonna go ahead and end the video there, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys liked this video, hit that like button down below. It helps me out more than you can ever know. Go ahead and subscribe if you are new, and I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.